Most people walking around today believe they are free. They think their thoughts are their own. They believe their decisions are autonomous. They have been conditioned to celebrate their independence. But let me tell you a truth that will make your blood run cold. You are not free. You are a puppet. Look at your life. Look at the anxiety you feel when your phone buzzes. Look at the desperate need you have for the approval of people you don't even respect. Look at the bursts of anger or irrational desires that seem to come out of nowhere. You think that is you? No. That is the string being pulled. There is a hidden architecture of power that governs human interaction. It is older than the pyramids, older than any religion, older than language itself. And the first law of this architecture is this: he who controls the perception, controls the person every single day. Thousands of subtle forces are hacking into your psychology. Advertisers, politicians, your boss, your friends, your family, even the algorithm on your screen. They are using triggers that bypass your rational mind. They use guilt, they use shame, they use the illusion of love, they use your own ego against you. And because you do not understand the game, you bleed. You lose your time, your energy, your money, and ultimately your soul. But there is a way out. It requires a radical act of deprogramming. It requires you to look at the world not through the lens of morality that they have handed you, but through the lens of power, strategy, and human nature. If you understand what I am about to reveal to you in the next few minutes, a switch will flip in your brain, the strings will be cut. You will see the matrix of manipulation laid bare. And from that moment forward, absolutely nobody will be able to control you again. Listen very closely. Do not look away. Let us begin by dissecting the most potent weapon used against you, your own ego. People constantly wonder why they make foolish decisions, why they stay in terrible relationships, or why they buy things they do not need. The answer is not weakness. The answer is that their ego has been weaponized. Understand this fundamental law of human nature. People do not want to feel inferior. They have a desperate, burning pathological need to feel important, to feel seen, to feel validated. This is the great Achilles heel of the human race. And those who understand this can control you without you ever realizing it. Think about how this operates in your daily life. When someone gives you a compliment, particularly a compliment about your intelligence or your uniqueness, you immediately lower your defenses. You feel a warm surge of pleasure. You begin to trust that person. Why? Because they have stroked the part of you that is starving. They have recognized your imaginary superiority. Conversely, if someone criticizes you, even if their criticism is completely logical and helpful, what is your first reaction? Anger, resentment, a desire to defend yourself. You do not consider the truth of their words. You only feel the sting to your ego. You will literally destroy your own life, your own career, your own peace of mind, just to prove that you are right and they are wrong. Now imagine you are a manipulator, a master of the game. You do not need to use physical force. Physical force is clumsy. It leaves marks. It creates rebellion. True power is psychological. If I want to control you, I simply become the merchant of your ego. I study you. I find out what it is you are most insecure about. Is it your intelligence, your appearance, your moral standing? And then I construct a mirror that reflects back to you the exact image you wish to see. I will listen to your boring stories with rapt attention. I will ask for your advice on things I already know, making you feel like the wise mentor. I will subtly put down my own achievements so that your light shines brighter. You will walk away from our interactions thinking, what a magnificent person I am and what a great friend Robert is. But you are not my friend. You are my asset, and because you are drunk on the validation I provide, you will do favors for me. You will give me access to your network. You will overlook my flaws. You will dance to my tune because I hold the key to your ego. The most shocking aspect of this is how invisible it is. We all like to think we are above flattery. We say, oh, I can spot a suck-up from a mile away. But you cannot, because the most effective flattery does not look like flattery. It looks like genuine admiration. It is subtle. It is indirect. To break this control, you must do something profoundly unnatural. You must starve the ego. You must look at your desperate need for validation and recognize it for what it is, a psychological vulnerability. When someone praises you, do not drink it in. Step back and observe. Why are they saying this? What do they want? When someone insults you, do not react emotionally. Ask yourself, is there any truth here that I can use to improve myself? Or is this simply an attempt to provoke me into making a mistake? The moment you detach your self-worth from the opinions of others, you become untouchable. You become like water. They cannot grab you. They cannot push your buttons because the buttons have been removed. You watch them try to flatter you, and instead of feeling pride, you feel a cold, analytical clarity. You see the strings. And once you see the strings, the magic trick is ruined forever. There is a phenomenon in biology called emotional contagion. It is the instinctive, hardwired tendency for one person's emotions to spread to others. If I sit in a room with you and I begin to display signs of intense anxiety, shifting in my seat, speaking rapidly, breathing shallowly, your nervous system will automatically begin to mirror mine. Within minutes, without a single word being exchanged about why I am anxious, you will start to feel a tightness in your chest. You will feel on edge. This is not a metaphor. This is biology. This is the primitive part of your brain, the amygdala, responding to perceived threats in the environment. We evolved this way to survive. If a member of the tribe saw a predator and panicked, the panic spread instantly, allowing everyone to run before they even saw the lion. But in the modern world, there are no lions. Yet the mechanism remains. And I will tell you who the greatest predators are. The people who unconsciously or consciously spread their toxic emotional states to you. You know exactly who I am talking about. The coworker who comes into the office radiating quiet desperation and resentment. The friend who calls you only to dump their endless drama and victimhood onto your shoulders. The partner who uses sudden, unpredictable mood swings to keep you walking on eggshells. What you do not realize is that when you submit to these emotional black holes, you are surrendering control. When you absorb their anxiety, their anger, their depression, your cognitive abilities plummet. You cannot think strategically. You cannot make rational decisions. You are suddenly in survival mode, trying to calm them down or fix their problem. You have become an extension of their nervous system. You are doing their emotional labor for them. This is a form of profound, insidious control. In many cases, it is not even deliberate. The anxious person is simply a slave to their own chaos, and they drag everyone down with them. But in the hands of a master manipulator, emotional contagion is a calculated weapon. If I want to control a group, I do not use logic. Logic bores people. Logic does not motivate them. I use fear and outrage. I paint a picture of an existential threat. I tell you that your way of life is in danger, that an enemy is at the gates. I whip the crowd into a frenzy of anxiety and hatred. And once the crowd is infected with this emotion, they stop thinking. They will hand over their rights, their money, their freedoms, just to feel safe again. They will follow the person who promises to cure the anxiety that I just infected them with. This is the oldest trick in the political playbook. How do you defend against this? You must build an impermeable emotional shield. You must become a master of stoicism. When someone approaches you dripping with toxic emotion, you do not engage. You do not try to comfort them. You do not argue with them. You simply observe them. You look at them as if they are a specimen under a microscope. You think, there goes another human being hijacked by their amygdala. You maintain your physical stillness. You keep your breathing deep and slow. You refuse to let their frequency tune your instrument. People will call you cold. They will call you heartless. Let them. It is far better to be called heartless than to be a puppet dancing on the strings of another person's hysteria. By retaining your emotional autonomy, you retain your power. You become the rock that the waves crash against. Unmovable, unbreakable. Did you feel that brief moment of discomfort, that urge to fill the empty space with noise? Good. Remember that feeling because it is the key to understanding the next level of control. We live in a world that is terrified of silence. People cannot sit in a room for 30 seconds without looking at a screen. They cannot endure a pause in a conversation without nervously babbling to fill the void. And this desperate fear of the unknown, of the ambiguous, is exactly what makes you so easy to manipulate. If I can read you like an open book, I own you. If you tell me exactly what you want, if you wear your heart on your sleeve, if your face reacts to every single stimulus in the room, you have handed me the blueprint to your soul. I know what buttons to push. I know what fears to trigger. I know exactly how much pressure to apply before you break. To prevent this, you must master the art of the void. You must become enigmatic. An enigmatic person is terrifying to a manipulator because they provide no data. There is no clear reaction. There is no predictable pattern. When you are criticized, instead of defending yourself, you say nothing. You simply look at the person. When someone tries to provoke you into an argument, you give them a slight, ambiguous smile that could mean anything. When they ask you a direct, probing question designed to expose your weaknesses, you answer with a question, or you answer so vaguely that they are left more confused than before. Silence is a weapon of mass psychological destruction. When you sit in silence while someone is attacking you or trying to sell you something or trying to guilt trip you, the dynamic shifts. They are the one making all the noise. They are the one expending energy. And as the silence stretches on, their own words begin to echo in their ears. They start to doubt themselves. They start to feel foolish. They over-explain. They reveal things they never intended to reveal. By saying nothing, you force them to fill the void. And in doing so, they hang themselves. The same applies to your plans and your intentions. The fool broadcasts his goals to the world before he has even taken the first step. He tells his coworkers he is looking for a new job. He tells his friends he is going to start a business. He tells his rivals exactly how he plans to defeat them. Why? Because talking about it gives him a premature hit of dopamine. It makes him feel important. But what does it actually accomplish? It accomplishes nothing except to alert every manipulator, every competitor, and every obstacle in your path. If I know what you want, I can position myself in your way. I can sabotage you before you even begin. The master keeps his own counsel. He operates in the shadows. He lets people project their own fantasies onto his silence. They will imagine you are far more powerful, far more dangerous, or far more knowledgeable than you actually are. The unknown is always more intimidating than the known. If you want to be uncontrollable, you must kill the need to explain yourself. You do not owe anyone an explanation for your boundaries, your decisions, or your silence. Let them be confused. Let them be uncomfortable. Let them wonder what you are thinking. In that wonder, you hold all the power. Now we arrive at the most insidious form of control ever devised by human beings. It is a form of control so deeply ingrained in our culture that we do not even recognize it as manipulation. We worship it. We call it morality. But very often what passes for morality is nothing more than a sophisticated system of guilt and control. Let me be very clear. I am not advocating for evil. I am advocating for realism. The laws of nature do not care about your morals. The lion does not feel guilty for eating the gazelle. But human beings have constructed elaborate moral frameworks. And these frameworks are routinely hijacked by those who want to keep you docile, obedient, and controllable. Think about the concept of guilt. Guilt is an emotion that serves a social function. It keeps us from acting purely selfishly and destroying the tribe. But guilt can be manufactured. It is the favorite weapon of the weak. If I cannot compete with you on the battlefield of logic, if I cannot outsmart you, if I cannot match your work ethic, how do I bring you down? I make you feel guilty. I appeal to a higher, purer authority. I tell you that you are being selfish. I tell you that you are not thinking of the group. I play the victim. I say, after all I've done for you, this is how you treat me. The moment you feel that twinge of guilt, your logical mind shuts down. You enter a state of psychological submission. You will compromise your own boundaries. You will give away your time, your money, your energy, just to alleviate that horrible feeling of being a bad person. This is particularly vicious in family dynamics and relationships. People will bind you to them not with love, but with obligation. They will do you unsolicited favors, specifically so they can hold it over your head later. They will sacrifice themselves openly, making sure you see how much they are suffering for your sake. This is not love. This is emotional blackmail. It is a transaction where the currency is your freedom to be uncontrollable. You must perform a radical surgery on your conscience. You must distinguish between authentic guilt, which is when you have actually violated your own deeply held principles, and false guilt, which is imposed on you from the outside by people trying to leverage you. When someone tries to make you feel guilty, step back and analyze the transaction. Are they trying to help you, or are they trying to control you? Are their appeals to morality actually a mask for their own weakness and inability to handle life on their own terms? Never apologize for things that do not require an apology. Never apologize for your ambition, your success, your desire to be alone, or your refusal to participate in someone else's drama. When you apologize unnecessarily, you are handing over your power. You are saying, "You are right, I am flawed, please forgive me." The masters of power do not play the victim, and they do not tolerate those who do. When someone tries to trap you in a morality play, simply refuse to step onto the stage. Look at their accusation with cold indifference. Say, "I am sorry you feel that way," which is not an apology for your actions, but a dismissal of their emotional state. By refusing to accept the false premises of their guilt trip, you neutralize their only weapon. You become immune to their manipulation. If you have followed my logic so far, you are beginning to see the world differently. You are seeing the egos, the emotional viruses, the silences, and the guilt trips. But seeing them is not enough. You must now elevate your mind to the highest strategic altitude. You must learn the ultimate secret of power, absolute detachment. Most people are imprisoned by their desires. They want a specific job, a specific person to love them, a specific outcome in a negotiation. This intense desire clouds their judgment. It makes them predictable. If I know you desperately want this contract, I know I can squeeze you at the last minute. I can make you accept terrible terms because your desire has made you weak. The Stoic philosophers understood this. They said we must practice premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. We must mentally detach ourselves from the things we want. We must accept in advance that we might lose it all. Think of yourself not as a piece on the chessboard, but as the chessboard itself. The pieces move across you. There are victories and defeats, captures and sacrifices. But the board itself? It remains unchanged. It is unmoved by the drama. It simply provides the space for the game to unfold. When you apply this to your life, you become terrifyingly powerful. Imagine walking into a negotiation. You want the deal, yes, but you have already accepted the reality of walking away empty-handed. You have already made peace with the no, because you are not attached to the outcome. You exude a calm, detached confidence. You do not rush. You do not panic when they push back. You simply observe their tactics. Because you are not reacting out of desperation, they cannot find your center of gravity. They cannot break you. This applies to relationships as well. The neediest, most controlling people are those who are terrified of being abandoned. Their desperate clinging is what actually drives people away. The truly powerful individual loves deeply, but remains fundamentally detached. They do not need the other person to survive. If the relationship ends, they will grieve, yes, but their core identity remains intact. They are not shattered. When you interact with people from a place of absolute detachment, it completely disorients them. They are used to dealing with people who are hungry, who are scared, who are reactive. When they meet someone who is completely self-possessed, who does not seem to need anything from them, it creates a deep psychological vacuum. Suddenly, they are the ones trying to win your approval. The power dynamic inverts. To achieve this, you must stop living in the future, obsessing over what you will gain or lose. You must live entirely in the present moment, focused on the action itself, not the fruits of the action. Do the work, play the game, execute the strategy, but let go of the outcome. The outcome is controlled by forces outside your jurisdictions. the whims of others, the economy, pure chance. You only control your own mind. By detaching from the result, you make yourself bulletproof. Nobody can control a person who wants nothing, because there is no lever to pull. You have now understood the traps. You see the strings of ego, the virus of emotion, the power of silence, the illusion of guilt, and the freedom of detachment. But I must warn you, understanding is not enough. There will come a moment, a critical, defining moment, when someone will test your new boundaries. They will sense that you have slipped their leash, and they will attack. They will use every dirty, underhanded tactic in the book to force you back into the box they built for you. When that moment comes, you must be prepared to strike. Not out of anger, not out of revenge, but with the cold, calculated precision of a surgeon removing a tumor. In my book, The 48 Laws of Power, I wrote, "Crush your enemy totally." I do not say this to be cruel. I say this because half measures are a sign of weakness. If you allow a malicious manipulator to survive, to retain even a fraction of their power over you, they will spend every waking moment plotting their revenge. They will wait until you are vulnerable, and they will strike you from the shadows. There is a profound misconception in our modern, softened society that forgiveness and turning the other cheek are the ultimate virtues. In the realm of pure power, unconditional forgiveness is suicide. If someone deliberately, maliciously tries to destroy your reputation, your livelihood, or your psychological well-being, and you forgive them, you are not showing strength. You are showing that you are a safe target. You are inviting the next predator to take a bite out of you. When you are forced to act, you must do so without hesitation. You must not warn them. You must not negotiate. You must strike at their weakest point, their fragile ego, their hidden secrets, their dependencies, and you must dismantle their ability to ever harm you again. This is the final stage of becoming uncontrollable. It is the realization that you are a sovereign entity. You have the right to defend your psychological territory with the same ferocity that a lion defends its pride. Let me leave you with this final thought. The world we live in is not a gentle place. It is a vast, ancient arena. You can choose to be a sheep, bleating about fairness and morality while the wolves circle. Or you can choose to wake up. You can choose to see the game for what it is. It takes courage to look at the ugliness of human nature. It takes immense discipline to master your own emotions, to starve your ego, to embrace the void, and to detach from the outcomes you desperately crave. But if you walk this path, if you internalize these laws and make them a part of your very blood, you will walk through this life untouched by the chaos that consumes others. You will see the manipulators coming from a mile away, and you will watch them exhaust themselves trying to move a mountain. You will be free, not the fake modern freedom they sell you on television, but the ancient, primordial freedom of the master. The choice is yours. But remember, the game never stops.